blue sky process is the point in time where you sort of get to throw away all the rules and you just think, what if? What if we did this? What if we did that? And at that point, there's no bad ideas.
When you think of Imagineering, it's more than saying, I want to build a roller coaster. I want to build a really cool ride that people want to go on. We want to take it one step further and put you into a story, make you feel like you're in a different place and in a different time.
When I came up with the idea to do a movie with Cars as characters, it really was kind of the merging of the two sides of my kind of family, you might say. My dad as a parts manager at the Chevy dealership. My mom was an art teacher. It kind of represented my love of cartoons and animation, and so it kind of really merged the two together. The story of Cars really started gelling. The summer of 2000, my wife and I took a cross-country motorhome trip with our 5 sons. We went down Route 66 and just experienced that kind of old-fashioned road trip. And I kind of got reminded of something really special, and that is that the journey in life is the reward, not the destination. And when they start talking about taking the characters and the place that we developed in our movie Cars and making a land, I got so excited. I got so incredibly excited because Disneyland was one of the most important places and things in my life. And it actually has inspired me. I mean, Disneyland in great part inspired me to do what I'm doing for a living. We would go once or twice a year, and it was my favorite day of the year. And I remember just loving the detail, the authenticity. Every little aspect of it takes you to that place in time. And if we're going to bring Radiator Springs to life, it has to be so authentic you feel like you are there. And to be authentic, the first thing I asked all the Imagineers, I said, you have got to get out there on Route 66 and travel Route 66. It's feeling it, seeing the light, and hearing the stories of the people on the road.
We started in Eric, Oklahoma, and we went to the old parts of Route 66, and we stopped in a lot of the towns along the way, and we met a lot of the people.
It gave us a real appreciation for, you know, why the story was so special with John Lasseter. On our trip, driving along Route 66, the most powerful thing that sticks out in my mind was all of the beautiful rocks on the western portion of Route 66. And being able to see that come to life, recreated by the team, is really a powerful experience.
I grew up in Hungary. I came from an artist family, so not only that my father was a commercial graphic artist and a painter, but my uncle was a wood sculptor. Almost every weekend we went hiking in the mountains. You know, so that became ingrained in our brains. I've just had this affinity towards nature. What we're trying to do is to really recreate an environment that would translate to the guest as a piece of reality. We assembled the top artists in the world. We really wanted to pay attention to all the small details that Route 66 geology offers.
The closer you get to that rock work, it wraps around you. You look around and you are transported.
What Disney does so well is we immerse guests in experiences, and that's what Carsland does. Carsland, I say it reaches out and hugs you. As you walk down the street and you walk toward the mountain, the real world goes away. You are surrounded by Radiator Springs, and you're in the middle of a movie.
When we took on Carsland as a project, you know, we obviously had a great vocabulary to work from. But you know, in the film world, you can control what the guest is watching or looking at. In a theme park, you can't. You know, they can turn, you know, 360 degrees. They can look around the corner. They can look up. They can look down. And so you have to start thinking about all those little nooks and crannies. And in some cases, that's not defined in the movie.
Some of the biggest things that I learned on that trip involved meeting the people that inspired the characters. To meet Fran and Joanne from the Midpoint Cafe in Texas, who were the inspiration for Flo, and talk with them and kind of get an understanding of if that character owned a building, how would they decorate the inside? There are so many tiny little details that help tell the story of the whole land, indoors and outdoors.
We use so many tools, especially the landscape design. We play with texture, we play with light, we play with color, and scale, certainly.
The graphics, the colors on the buildings, they all tell a consistent story. We don't have any contradictions, and that's how we immerse you into a world and immerse you into this fantasy story.
When we were designing our signs, we were thinking these are what the actual characters would design or buy for themselves. So no matter where you are, whatever that sign is related to, it's gonna play a part in that story.
We have these 3 new attractions in Cars Land that have their own spirit, and I think that Walt would be very proud of this land.
Mater's Junkyard Jamboree is this musically based attraction where baby tractors are pulling trailers with our guests in them.
It's inspired by the old whip rides on the East Coast and the boardwalks, you know, where a castered vehicle would go down to the end of a loop and then just whip around. You're going to be going right and left and around like a good old-fashioned square dance. And in fact, that's what Mater's having. He's hosting a square dance called the Junkyard Jamboree.
There's 10 other carriages being pulled next to you, so you're passing them and you're all looping each other. So it's going to be very kinetic and very fun.
Luigi's Flying Tires is going to be an amazing experience. That attraction was actually inspired by the Flying Saucers attraction that ran in Tomorrowland at Disneyland.
The old flying saucers that were in the 60s were a big thrill for my brother and I. It's come around full circle, and hopefully my family will have those fond memories also.
When we started out deciding that we wanted to build a flying ride, quickly we realized that more air is more fun. It's like a mini hovercraft, and the idea that you get to control it yourself, I think, is very fun. You go chasing after one vehicle, or you race somebody from one side of the floor to the other.
Radiator Springs Racers is going to be, I think, one of the greatest attractions that Disney has ever designed and built. A great attraction takes you somewhere. It takes you to another place. And that's what Radiator Springs Racers does. You get to go on the road trip that Lightning and Sally got to go on, the little drive that they took to the country, through Ornament Valley, and see the waterfall. You get to meet a lot of your favorite characters from the movie. But this is not about them. This is about you. This is your experience in their world, in that parallel universe of Cars.
You go into the ride, riding the character right out of the Cars movies. You're going to hear the cars, and you're going to hear people enjoying, screaming and having fun on the ride. It really brings you in.
Creating Radiator Springs Racers is the dream job for a car guy. My father was big into cars, was always doing his own maintenance on cars. I can remember when I was 6 or 7 years old, sitting out on the curb with my dad doing a brake job on the car, and him teaching me how it all goes together and inspiring me to have the same love of cars. It's easy to just build a car, but to build a car that is a character and has a soul and a personality adds a whole nother level to the build process. You take everything that you've learned along the way, all the little art projects you've done, and they all come together into a monumental attraction that honors the heritage of cars.
I was really fortunate to grow up in an era, 50s, mid-60s. Those are kind of my wonder years, to grow up in that era when the car became less of a means of just basic transportation. The car really kind of became part of our family. It had a name, Bonnie, and it had a personality, and it took us on road trips. In fact, I remember one night when we were on a road trip, everyone was asleep but me and my dad, driving of course. And I remember laying on the floor, the back seat, with my legs over the hump of the car in the back, looking out the back window at the stars in the sky at night. And he was kind of singing a Hank Williams tune or something. And I remember seeing those stars. And it was a very vivid memory I have, and especially with like the outcropping of rock coming out in the canyons and valleys of Utah. And it was just, well, I'll never forget that sight. And a couple of weeks ago, when I first experienced the first ride-through, our test ride-through of Radiator Springs Racers, and I looked up and I saw stars are amazing. And it was then I realized this place is special.
My 3-year-old daughter has seen the Cars movie at least 100 times. She loves that film and she's excited about meeting the characters. When I tell her I have to go to work really early, she doesn't get upset anymore because she understands that in a few months she'll be able to see the characters in real life. I actually truly cannot wait for opening day and show her what I've done for her.
When you walk into Radiator Springs, that is the best that Disney can offer you. It's an extension or an expansion of what we've been doing all along. The magic in our parks is we take you to places you can't otherwise go. They are recreations of your favorite worlds, your favorite characters. They're just places where you want to be. I think that's why people want to come here so much, is that it's just something you can't experience anywhere else.
It was pretty amazing how many incredible artists we had in Walt Disney Imagineering. Because when you think about Cars Land, there's the ride engineering, there's the architecture, there's landscape design, kind of go on and on. It's really incredible, and it was great that we were all focused on the storytelling to create the home of Lightning McQueen, of Mater, of Doc Hudson, of all the residents of Radiator Springs, and make it as authentic as we can. The character of the town, the character of the cars, and the whole world, it just is in everything, and I think it's going to be, I can't wait.
When we visited with people along Route 66, they were very proud of where they were and what they were doing. And as we walk through our town, you get that sense of we love what we do.
When our guests step into this land and they see the spectacle and the panorama of the landscape, you know, I want them to feel like this is the greatest road trip they've ever been on.